So, I'm Dylan Davis, we are Devils and Demons, and this is our game. There we go. This is our game called Hugh Monsters. Pretty self-explanatory. So, vampires and werewolves team up against a common enemy. The supernatural meets strategy in this tower defense game. So, we are Devils and Demons. I'm Dylan, I'm the founder. We are a Gloucestershire-based company. We're all fully remote. We are a group of mid-level workers, and we're a team. Why are we a team? Well, Steve Jobs once said that great things are never done by one person. They are done by a team. So yeah, we've got all of us here, and then Animal Andy, I'll talk about him in a bit. He is our YouTuber. He will help with sponsoring. Now, just in case you forget our details, I have some business cards. Actually, you can contact me for further details. So, the biggest fictional monster crossover in gaming history. You play as Dracula. How many games do you play as Dracula? Maybe Castlevania. That's about it. Humans are the enemy. There's upgradable units similar to balloons. It's a strategy tower defense game, and it's aimed at sort of anywhere between 12 and 26, like anywhere from like secondary school to young adults around uni age. Yeah, that's a general overview of what the game is. We will be advertising on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. I'll talk about that in a bit. So, the core game loop is similar to Plants vs. Zombies. You open a level, spawn some units, otherwise you're going to lose. You spawn those units. If those units defeat a human enemy, they obtain resources in the form of blood. You use the blood, just like Dracula would, to defeat the boss unit. The boss unit is typically guarded by other enemies that would require other units. As you progress through the levels, you unlock new units to defeat even more difficult bosses, and so on and so forth. You progress to the next level, and you repeat. So it's very simple, level-based format for all the kids to enjoy. There are also some sub-loops, such as obtaining resources and money. We have a soft currency and a hard currency called souls and teeth. I will explain in a bit with that. We also have subloops for beating levels, unlocking other levels, and you get, in between beating levels, you will get a little dialogue box with your son Alucard, who will tell you, "Oh, Dad, you're not doing enough," you know. And he'll get some lore about the game, being like, "Oh, we've got to fight the humans." Skipped a bit. And yeah, you can also upgrade your units. I'll explain that in a little bit too. So, strategy game genre mechanics. A lot of people like strategy because it's not a genre where one strategy beats all. We are trying to design our game in a way that you can use multiple different kinds of units. So we have 5 key unit types, and then we have versions of those units within them. So the first world, you get vampire units, and there's 5 units for them. And all vampires are immune to ranged attacks, which are usually from humans' guns. And werewolves are all weak to silver bullets, but they are immune to all of the wooden weapons that the humans carry around. So on and so forth. So we have a current prototype that we made about a month ago. So as you can see here, this is a template of what the game would look like. So we are a tower attack game. I say tower defense. You are actually playing as the monsters. In order to keep it balanced, you can only place a unit on a ticked box when dragging and dropping. We believe the game supports a mobile format because you literally just drag a unit, place it there. The boss is here. It is larger, blue, with a stronger weapon. You can see as we are killing people that blood is being gained. They're spawning another unit there. So this is souls that I mentioned. This is your passive currency. Teeth is really rare and requires purchasing. So this is what's unique about it. This gauge is called the Vengeance gauge. When this is full, Dracula can briefly possess one of his own little evildoers, and you can directly control the units, which is, I believe, not something featured in previous games. I made this as originally a feature because in so many tower defense games, one of the issues we found with our competitors is that, so here are our competitors, one of our issues we found is they're very sort of, it can get repetitive if you're good at the game. It can become very sort of monotonous, especially if you're on a phone. You might just, "Oh, well, I'll do that." It's very easy to have a unit that's overpowered, and because you don't directly control them, it kind of can make it boring if you're an old fan. So, yeah. So these are our rivals. Plants vs. Zombies, Kingdom Rush, and Balloons. In this case, we just use 4 for some stats. They're all tower defense games all released in a similar time, late 2000s, early 2010s, target audience between kids and late teenagers, all very bright colours, and they've all released, as you can see, millions and millions of downloads. A lot of downloads, and they're available on many platforms. And they've all got quite a beautiful colour palette, which is also why we have a colour palette that's quite bright. So, we believe there's a gap in the market. How many games let you play as Dracula? I said earlier, maybe Castlevania. That's kind of it. Zombies are covered. We've made sure there are no zombies in our game, even though they are a monster. Nature vs. Disease has been covered. Monkeys vs. Balloons, weirdly, has been covered. So we went back to tradition. We went back to gothic horror literature, monsters versus humans. This is kind of the Super Smash Brothers of tower defense, in a way. If you imagine, part of the reason we did some research on this, why Super Smash Brothers has sold tens of millions of copies, is not because it's a fighting game, it's because it's the biggest fictional crossover in gaming history. We're not trying to repeat that, we're just trying to take that into a different approach where maybe fans of literature or fans of, I don't know, Dracula horror films want to play games because they want to, do that essentially. So, we are sponsored by Mad About Horror. These are a UK-based company. They have a TikTok and a YouTube channel, and they are based in the UK, but they do ship products worldwide. They are a horror merchandise company. They do a lot of sales on Halloween especially, but they sell lots of masks and stuff. Another thing, Gothic literature. So when you unlock a unit, kind of like Plants vs. Zombies, you can go into like a little book that will explain not just what the unit does and its stats, but also where it originates from, and sort of like Persona does this with their demons in the game. And then, as I mentioned, for direct unit control, which cannot be done all the time, only when you've filled up your bar, and it's a subgenre of tower defense. So, our marketing strategy. 2 weeks before launch, we're going to have Twitch. We've already got an approval from 14 different Twitch streamers. I'm not allowed to disclose their names currently. However, they are willing to, with the funds we have acquired, do 30-minute streams, explaining the first world of the game, playing it, not doing a review necessarily, just first impressions. We're doing this because our target audience are basically stuck on the internet and don't read newspapers anymore. Then, as we get closer to the release, once release day happens, Animal Andy, who has over 1 million subscribers, by the way, will be releasing a first impressions video showing the first 2 worlds of gameplay. We don't want to show the entire game because we don't want to spoil it for anyone. And then TikTok, we have funds for the first month or 2 of 5 days sponsored videos. These will involve anywhere from devlogs, behind the scenes. It might be a unit showcase. It might be, bug fixes. It could be anything. It could be, we've even suggested the idea in our last meeting with Mad About Horror to do a sort of collab with TikTok trends. There's a recent TikTok trend of makeup where people put on expensive makeup, and we thought, Dracula, werewolves, sirens, it just works. Also, post-launch, there's a little graph here. This is explaining if for some reason English people can't read the game, even though there's very little in terms of text. We have got support from people on Fiverr and approval to translate the game into the following languages you can see here. As you can see, in terms of millions of TikTok users, the lowest is nearly 20 million. We've done the maths, and this is over 200 million potential users who will download and play our game. Some SWOT analysis. So strengths, like I said before, we're a small Scrum team. We are self-published, and we have that high contrast color palette to get the young TikTok users with their hyper bright colors. Yeah, I love them. Imaginative control. We have done some discussions about Dracula, and we've done our research into what's not allowed. And weaknesses, yes, it is quite similar in terms of the grid-based format to Plants vs. Zombies. That said, in order to be a tower defense game, you have to have a set of rules. It's like Astro Boy was Game of the Year this year, and that's a 3D platformer that's got the same footwork as a Mario game. Opportunities? Tower defense games are few and far between. They're very popular, but there's actually not that many, especially in recent years, that have come out. In terms of threats, we are similar to Plants vs. Zombies and Castlevania. However, Plants vs. Zombies, the recent one, Plants vs. Zombies 3, has had to launch 4 separate times and has been removed off the App Store because people were complaining that they got rid of all the good features, such as unit customization, such as upgradable units, stuff that we have in our game. So they're not doing very well. And we have potential for future versions like a Switch version, because the Switch supports touch controls. Here's our roadmap. Our skeleton's pointing here at our little roadmap. Yeah, so currently we created the prototype back in August. We've already got an approval from the sponsor. We've got an approval from like starting the video production and stuff. This is a relatively good roadmap. We plan to launch the game around June of 2025, with starting stuff like DLC in May, in case the game sells enough that we can fully pursue that DLC beyond July of 2025. There are also various things on here that you can read, like adding in music, adding in production stuff. Because it's fully 2D, we have asked our programmer, and we've also asked one of our artists who has a history with code, that it is feasible to do about 25 units in the span of a year, because we have the baseline coded in. The total cost, 315,000. Now, that is quite a large, scary number, I'm aware. So, however, you notice the utility bonus isn't there, and I say to you this: we are all based in Gloucestershire, and post-COVID, there's a very popular remote work scene. So instead of having to pay an office, we do have the money prepared in case we need to rent an office in Cheltenham. But we don't have to pay for utilities, we don't have to pay for bills and whatnot. We are instead giving our employees a utility bonus, a telecommutation bonus every month to help them pay their rent. So this all costs a lot. Required funding, the total cost is 315,000. However, we only want 202,000 from you as ROI investors, and we are going to give you 25%, which is 5% above the average. This is a lot. And it's the fact that we're self-publishing as well, it's practically a steal. We have got a Kickstarter that's given us £20,000 in funding. We have £72,000 in funding ourselves, and we have, support from our sponsor. Given their last monthly costs, this is how much they could give us. So that may seem like a lot. We are a blended freemium model. Based on our previous research, Bloons Tower Defense 6 is one of our competitors. They achieved in the last year 1.5 million downloads, and that is an old game. You usually get a lot more sales in the first year. So assuming we have the same and have 1.5 million downloads, and everyone who buys it, only 50% of them buy the cheapest thing once at 99p, 3.5 million in profit. Now that may seem like a lot. That is actually an underestimate, because that is assuming there are no whales. That is assuming there is nobody who's going to refund the game. There is assuming nobody who's going to buy multiple things like the teeth system. This is also where we go into self-publishing. This is how much money you get even if we don't self-publish and we have to sell out. This is still a profit of £50,000. Mentioned before, these are the types of currency. Teeth is the only one you can buy with real money. We have made it so that everything ends in a 99 because psychologically humans are more enticed with that. We've also made it so that 500 teeth seems like it's more valuable. Like if you bought 5 teeth 10 times, that would be not as many teeth, as encourages the teenagers to spend more money. We also have plans for DLC. Now, I have a little guy called Dracula here. He is our prototype. And this is what I call the backup plan. This is for all those people, like your parents and your grandparents and anyone who knows Dracula or any gothic characters ever. Oh, I don't play games. Oh, I don't care for games. If they walk into Mad About Horror's store, and they benefit from this because they want the money to make more physical stores in the UK, they will be selling these plushies and more than just the Dracula unit. And they can go, oh, that's a cute little Dracula. I'll buy it for Christmas. Doesn't even know it's from the game. We also have DLC plans similar to the Plants vs. Zombies 2 model of having 1 new world, 5 new units, only £2.99. Upgrade menu, here's an example of our upgrade menu. So there's a lot of different things. Here's Alucard with his little dialogue. You've got different units that you can upgrade. They are not stat changes, they are physical changes to the unit themselves. So the flying vampire, you can then fly above units, so then you may not need to use a werewolf unit. There are other things like accessibility features, like a monochrome filter. Don't know why you would need monochrome, but it's there if you want it. Things like hats, anything that you can wear that doesn't benefit you in terms of stats, we made through teeth because we don't want to force you to play the game. Games like Warframe have sold way more by having a good reputation and not requiring you to buy stuff. Now, if you're thinking mobile games aren't profitable, we've done our research, and half of global players play mobile, specifically Asian regions, because a lot of these people are adults or people in their teens and their late 20s, because all they have time for is to hop on a train to work. Oh, I might just play a little level of Hue Monsters while I'm here. And as you can see, tower defense and strategy games as a whole are the second most popular genre in 2022, and they are only growing as we go. On top of that, we are trying to include RPG mechanics-ish, similar to customizing your party. In this sense would be like seed slots. Market analysis. These are our rivals and how much they've downloaded and profited in the past. They've all taken between 1 and 4 years in development, so this is not a long scale thing. Target audience is similar to our target audience. The number of platforms is widespread, so we would launch on iOS and Android and then lead into Switch and Steam and so on and so forth. Kingdom Rush in particular, over 100 million downloads. That's lifetime sales, but we've got to believe in a long stretch somehow. Thank you for watching. Do you have any questions?
Firstly, it's excellent and really entertaining.
Thank you.
Would you do like an updated release around Halloween given the theme event? I know you're going to initially release in July.
Yes, so we're going to do an initial release in July. We are planning to have the DLC, because it's a witch, release around Halloween, because that would give us a good 3-month gap. Because we need the first 2 months to, if the TikTok blows up, we want to do more frequent posts on that. And we've also started questioning other ideas for games potentially, and we would do a meeting with you then. As for Halloween stuff, we can have cosmetics, we can have hats, the whole game in itself.
Like this?
Yeah, we could have Alucard, he's probably next on the list. We've made it in a way so that if we need a DLC or we need a holiday thing, it can just be either a hat, or it can be like some dialogue, or it can be a limited time event like Plants vs Zombies does the same thing. I think they did an Halloween event this year. Didn't go well because the game wasn't received well, but yeah.
Not a question, but for a tie-in, if I mean, I'm genuinely convinced that you're going to do this, so I'm assuming that you are.
Yeah.
You gifts like that are something that the people who like the people who are playing that game, their parents, grandparents, that's something that could be that they would want to buy for that person.
Yeah.
If you could somehow loop it in and make sure that they know about it.
Online,
So when we were originally making the sort of concept art with our like mid-level artists and stuff, I forgot to mention it's a blended freemium model, by the way. We thought about the art style heavily because on one hand you could go full edgy, wells, rah, scary. Yeah. On the other hand, we could go in the opposite direction, more cutesy, more cartoony. We decided upon that because it's visually striking, it's worked before in the past with our rivals, and if we were to make things like plushies, if it was scary, it would have to be a figurine, which costs a lot more time and money to make. Yeah. Whereas a plushie, you can just, your daughter could probably make that if you want.
Yeah.
That is not the final version, but yeah, let's not disclose that, but we do have, I've got a budgeting sheet in my appendix that goes through, we've got an outsourced person who will be making the plushies, because she used to work at Mad About Horror, and she's looking at a new creative field, basically.
Bam, I have one genuine question, actually about Mad About Horror.
Yeah.
If your game is targeted from any age upwards, say 7, are they going to investigate your sponsor and find things on there that might not be suitable for them because it's a horror-based sponsor?
So we've had a look, and there is always that issue of if you're sponsoring a company that has like plushies of Chucky, when we discussed with them about what they get out of this, other than sort of advertisements and stuff, they were saying they were struggling to expand stores. They would kind of, how there's Argos and Argos Extra and whatnot, or like Big Tesco, Little Tesco. Yeah. They want to do the same thing and have sort of Mad About Horror, and then kind of Curious About Horror is like the name that they've got. It's kind of a more kid-friendly, you know.
It's safe.
More safe. There'd be merchandise there that would be, and they would be put in the bigger shops. Like anything that's scary would be in like alleyways that would, I don't know, not be suitable for children. We would set up shops in like Toys R Us would be near the Curious One, so that's how they're approaching it.
Okay, I mean, that is an important factor, I think, if you're going to go for kids.
Yeah, but we do have a like we've made it 12 and up, but
yeah,
we want parents to be aware that we have no bad intentions with this. We just want to educate people about supernatural horror. There's actually some studies that we did that since Twilight happened, everyone hated horror, everyone hated vampires. Since then, it's kind of boosted post-COVID. We had like ironic Morbius, which was a disaster of a film, but it actually made a lot of profit because a lot of people just wanted to see how weird it was. And we've had games like recent games like The Quarry, which feature horror monsters, have had a kind of resurgence. So we believe that the interest is coming back, and we believe that this is a good time to sell it now instead of in the future or in the past.
Sure. Oh, I'm not saying that kids don't love horror.
Yeah.
I'd love to see some really nasty, scary things and learn a few things about life, of course. But you have to take that kind of thing into account. In terms of a business plan, you've got to at least know that's something you have thought about and be able to justify carefully.
Yeah, we're trying to approach it in a better way. But at the end of the day, the plushie is something that's going to be released around the end of beta, when people are doing like our beta testers will get like free benefits and stuff, free hats. So we're focusing on making the game itself successful first, and then sort of stuff like the DLC or in-app purchases or the plushie would be benefit money. But yes, we will need to research that more.
Okay, that is great. Thank you. Could talk to you all day about it. We haven't got time to go into a lot of detail.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Yeah, that's great.
I may need to take the plushie back to the office though, if that's okay.
If you could hold it in front of the camera just for a second, just like check
You
out.
can keep the
this
business
plushie.
cards.
Of course. Where is your camera?
This is little Dracula. He was built in Hobbycraft. Draculad, yes, he was £5 for the resources and £15 and to create it in an hour. So it's considering this is a prototype that we made in about a week or two. I'm very proud of it. And he'll be very sad if
If
this
we
game.
don't fund you.
Yeah, he's
Is your mascot?
yeah, he's our
He is,
mascot,
really.
exactly.
Yeah. It could be in your company logo. That was really great. Thank you.
It's all right.